check, 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 check. Can you hear me? Good evening, everyone. Good evening. In Israel, unity comes first. And over the past 365 days, we see that at the University of Miami, unity comes first too. My name is Fallon Zemlansky, and I stand before you today as the Vice President of Chabad. But more importantly, I'm a proud Jewish woman on a mission to spread light, uplift my Jewish community, and fiercely advocate for Israel's undeniable right to exist in peace and safety. Exactly 1 year ago today, we gathered here at the University of Miami with our families and friends celebrating Parents' Weekend 2023. A weekend filled with love, laughter, and memories that we'll cherish forever. But while we enjoyed those moments, our brothers and sisters in Israel faced a far different reality. They endured the largest attack on Jews since the Holocaust. Over 1,200 lives were brutally taken, and approximately 254 people were taken hostage. This day will forever carry a heartbreaking weight. But the Jewish people don't give up. Even on the hardest days, we choose to celebrate the good. We perform acts of kindness because there's always someone out there who needs that mitzvah and that prayer. It is in our resilience and unwavering spirit that we continue to spread light, no matter how deep the darkness. With that, I'm excited to introduce ARC, Acts of Random Kindness, an organization that we've chosen to partner with to make it even easier for each of you to engage in tzedakah and mitzvot. I encourage you to take one of those yellow boats over there on the table, and with that, each day, drop in some change. When it's full, donate it to any organization of your choice. It's a small act, but together, I believe and I know that we can make a big impact. In times like these, our words matter, our actions matter, and our bravery matters. We pray for safety in Israel, the release of the 101 hostages still held captive in Gaza, the memory of victims of terror, for peace for all Jews around the world, and for better days ahead. Amidst the darkness, there's strength and resilience because the Jewish people are raised to rise above hate and fight for our right to exist. It's in our blood. You hear about other campuses, the anti-Semitism, the pure evil hate, and you fear for your peers at these esteemed universities. But then I look around at our campus. I see yellow pins, I see Israeli flags, I see love and compassion, strength and resilience. It makes me proud. Proud to be a Jew, proud to be a Cain, and proud to learn and grow in this environment. As I conclude with my message for tonight, I would like to extend a sincere thank you to the University of Miami leadership, President Joseph Echevarria, Dr. Pat Whiteley, Dean Ryan Holmes, Denise Lossell, Mayor Vince Lago, UMPD, the co-sponsoring organizations, and the entire student body for your unwavering support and flexibility in coordinating this event. I now welcome my dear friend and president of Chabad, Brianna Halpern, to share a few words. Am Yisrael Chai.
Hi, everybody. Does that work? Hi, everyone. Good. Hi, everyone. My name is Brianna Halpern, and I have the honor of...
Can we change the system, please?
Does this work? Better? No. I'm just going to talk really loudly. Hi, everyone. My name is Brianna Halpern, and I have the honor of serving as the president persecution of people based on their religion is sadly not a new concept for me, as both of my great-grandparents were Holocaust survivors. From a very young age, resilience, survival, and the responsibility to secure the future of our people were ingrained in me. I was taught that it would be one of my greatest responsibilities to secure our future. I can remember even as a 5-year-old attending dinners and conventions for organizations such as Israel Bonds, Yad Vashem, and the Jewish Federation. At that time, I had no idea that I would one day find myself fighting these same battles. I believe that my role would be to preserve the traditions and freedoms of the Jewish people, never imagining I would have to face the resurgence of the same hatred and attacks that my great-grandparents endured. But I was wrong, and I was naive. When I woke up 1 year ago today, on the morning of the attack, a part of my heart shattered. I felt a deep sense of loss, but also a newfound responsibility to fight back, not with weapons, but with strength, compassion, and community. I knew I couldn't be on the ground fighting in Israel, but I realized I had somewhat of a different mission: to protect, nurture, and help the Jewish community on our campus flourish in a time of rising anti-Semitism and increasing anti-Israel rhetoric. As anti-Israel groups began organizing on campus, I understood how important it was to give a voice to the 1,800 Jewish Canes here at UM. This struggle has sometimes felt like it's the world against the Jewish state of Israel. Watching as people point fingers and question our right to defend ourselves has often rendered me speechless and feeling quite vulnerable. But I've never felt alone. When my great-grandfather was imprisoned in the concentration camp Komyonka, his greatest prayer was that he would one day see a Jewish child again in his lifetime. His deepest fear was that he never would. Today, I stand before you as the living miracle and answer to that one prayer. I'm here because of his resilience and hope. Now I ask of everyone here, find your resilience and hope. For 2,000 years, we had no state and no army to protect us. Today, we face the same reality, but in a different scenario. We now have a homeland, and we now have an army to protect ourselves. We have America as an ally, a country we love and appreciate. And we have universities like the University of Miami that protects, honors, and welcomes Jewish students time and time again. It is crucial that we continue to strengthen the relationship between Israel and America. Israel remains the... Should we just like turn it off? Okay. Israel remains the only democracy in the Middle East, and this battle is more than a political conflict. It is a fight between good and pure evil. The unwavering faith passed down from my family from Nazi Germany to now remains my source of strength. The legacy of resilience is what keeps me grounded and gives me hope. Hope that our community will continue to rise despite the challenges that we face. It is a privilege to stand here today, not only in remembrance of those we've lost, but in commitment to building a future where our people continue to thrive. That future begins with each and every one of you. We have the responsibility to ensure that 100 years from now, Jewish students and Jewish children can freely keep their traditions and live in our community without the fear of being attacked and persecuted. Be proud of who you are. Fight for what you believe is right. Stand up for the good in humanity, and never let your belief in our homeland dwindle. Thank you. I will now be passing it off to Judah Pardo to say a few words of Tehillim.
Hi everyone. So I'm just going to say a couple words and you can all repeat after me. Namnetzeach mizmor leDavid. Yancha Adonai b'yom tzara. Yiskavcha Sham Elohai Yaakov. Yishlach Azrecha mikodesh umitzion yisadcha. Yizkor kol minchotecha ve'uatecha yidash nasela. Yiten lecha kilvavcha v'chol atztecha. Yimala niranana v'shuatecha u'v'shem Eloheinu. Nigdal Yemala Adonai, Kol Misholatecha. Ata Yadati, Ki Hoshi, Adonai Mishicho. Yanehu Mishme Kacho, Bigvurot Isa Yimino. Ele Birchav, Ve'ele Bisusim. Ve'anachnu B'Shem Adonai, Eloheinu Niskor. Hema Karu, Ve'naflu Ve'anachnu. Kamnu Ve'nitoded. Adonai Hoshia HaMelech, Ya'anenu V'yom Korenu. Shir Lamalot. Asa Enai El Ha'arim. Me'ayin Yavo Ezri. Ezri Me'im Adonai. Oseh Shamayim Va'aretz. Al Yiten Lamut. Raglecha Al Yanum. Shomrecha Hine Lo. Yanum Velo Ishan. Shomer Yisrael. Adonai Shomercha. Adonai Tzolcha. Al Yad Yaminecha. Yomam HaShemesh. Lo Yakeka. Ve'areach Balayla. Adonai Yishmorcha. Mikol Ra. Yishmor et Nafshecha. Adonai Yishmor Tzetecha. Uvoecha. Me'ata ve'ad olam. You should all have by your seats Psalm of Tehillim for a hostage. So just take a minute, read over it in silence, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. And thank you so much for Fallon and Brianna for your beautiful, heartfelt words. First of all, shalom, everybody. Shalom, Canes. Shalom. 365 days. An entire year has gone by since that day that the world has changed forever. We witnessed the unthinkable, the brutal loss of innocent lives, families torn apart, and the pain is so deep that no words can even express it. Our brothers and sisters were taken from us in the cruelest way. Since that Simchas Torah morning, we have stood together in unity, in sheer brokenness, and in prayer. We cannot stop thinking about the 101 innocent people still held captive, those dark tunnels beneath Gaza. We remember the thousands who were murdered and injured. Over 20,000 missiles fired at Israel, and the hundreds of thousands still displaced from their homes. For many of us, the pain remains so raw and real, we lie awake at night, our hearts heavy with the suffering of our brothers and sisters. Yet, amid the silence, something remarkable has emerged. The hearts of our people, the Jewish nation, is showing its true beauty in the face of horror. We see the acts and strength that reflects the essence of who we are. Communities have come together like never before. Strangers are embracing each other with love and support. We see those who refuse to let the spear win. We rise with hope, compassion, and a fierce commitment to one another, we are truly witnessing Am Yisrael Chai. Though we may not understand why this tragedy has befallen us, though we may never grasp the depth of this pain, we know one thing: the Jewish people endure. We are a nation that survives, holding tightly to one another in the darkest of times, finding light even in the deepest night. We are profoundly grateful to the university and the city leadership and the entire community over here for joining us with unity and support. Your presence means the world to us. But what's our secret? How do we continue to survive, to build, to strengthen each other, and hold on to hope? The answer lies in the very words we have been saying all year: Am Yisrael Chai. What do these words mean? What's the essence of Am Yisrael or Eretz Yisrael? You know, the Jewish people had three patriarchs: Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, also known as Israel. He was renamed by an angel. We call the homeland the land of Israel, referring to Jacob, our father Israel. But why? Why not call it Eretz Avraham? Why not call it Eretz Yitzchak? Why Israel? Our sages teach us there's many meanings to the word Israel. Yisrael. One of those meanings is Shir Kale, the song of God. My friends, here lies the secret to the strength of the land of Israel and the people of Israel. What makes the land of Israel so special is that it embodies, manifests, and expresses everything we believe in as Jews. Amongst the billions of people on planet Earth, God placed the people of Israel and the land of Israel with a mission: to sing the song of God, to manifest, express, and bring the presence of God into the world. This is what Israel is all about. To ensure our community and its survival, we must remember our mission: to remind the world that despite the darkness, yesh bahabayis lebirazu, there is a master to this universe. There's a God, omnipresent, omnipotent, who is greater than the hardships and trials we face. We lean on his presence to continue to exist. The world recently witnessed Israel being attacked with ballistic missiles from Iran. It was an incredible miracle that the Jewish nation survived nearly 200 missiles capable of destroying entire cities, sent to annihilate the Jewish people without a single life lost. This is a message to the entire world. The land of Israel is Shir Kale, the song of God, a testament to his presence among us. Our role is to remind the world that the Jews by nature are beyond nature. Again, I'm going to say that. Jews by nature are beyond nature, and that God's presence ensures our survival. As we gather today to commemorate those who have passed, let us reconnect to our purpose, Eretz Yisrael. We are here to sing the song of God. Let us stand taller. Let us stand prouder, and remember that our mission is to remind the world who is really in charge, and that's God. Even when the challenges feel overwhelming and the bad news seems relentless, we must remind ourselves that within each of us lies the song of God. We have the power to sing this song. Even in our darkest hours, we must not linger in darkness, pain, or despair. Instead, we must tune into this song within our hearts, finding connection, upliftment. The song of God embedded within us is what gives us the strength to endure. The holy Baal Shem Tov taught that when someone passes away, there must three things you must do. You must pray, you must cry, and you must sing. When the students ask, we understand we need to pray for their soul and cry for the mourning. But why sing? The Baal Shem Tov explained that every person has a unique song, a note in a magnificent orchestra. And when life is cut short and their song ends abruptly, it is our responsibility to continue their song, to ensure their legacy endures. As we remember those who were taken from us, whether it was the kibbutzim near Gaza, whether it was the Nova Festival, or the soldiers of the IDF, whether it was Ofer, Gal, Sarah, Paz, or one of the precious souls whose lives were cut short, they each had a special song. It is our duty to be Yisrael, Shir Kel, to keep singing their song so that it never fades. One of those heroes was Elisha Lowenstein, a father of 6 who died in Gaza while defending his people. At the Shiva, his unit members shared that the night before they entered Gaza, everyone wrote a farewell letter to their family, except Elisha. When asked why, he said, "I have spent my life teaching my children that what I believe in, what I live for, what my song is. I won't write a letter. I am leaving 6 living letters. My children will carry my song forward." There is no better time than now to open our hearts and commit to keeping the song alive. Am Yisrael Chai means the Jewish nation endures because we continue to sing that song. All year we have been singing Am Yisrael Chai. And on this day of October 7th, we must ask ourselves, what can I do to ensure that the Jewish people, the song of God within us, continues to live on? How will we keep singing this song every day? Every time you do a mitzvah, every time you put on tefillin, you light Shabbat candles, you give charity, you are keeping the song alive. You are keeping Am Yisrael Chai. You are preserving the song of those whose lives were cut short. Let us commit together that their song will never fade. Let us keep singing the song of the Jewish people so that the world will forever know that Am Yisrael Chai. Let us all say together, Am Yisrael Chai. Again, Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai. Louder, Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai. Without any further ado, it's my honor and pleasure to introduce my senior rabbi, the one who hired me over here at University of Miami undergrads, the head chaplain and a charge of the Chaplain Association for the past 2 years, Rabbi Mendel Mish, who led the community over here at University of Miami as a whole for over 20 years. Please give your undivided attention to Rabbi Mendel Mish.
Good evening, everybody. It's amazing to see the amount of people that have turned out tonight, even though the weather is less than inviting and last-minute changes to the location. So thank you, everybody, for making the time. Even though things are important to us, we don't always have the ability to get it done. So the fact that it's not only important, but that you're here is a true testament to the importance of tonight. There have been some speakers, and there will be more speakers, so I'm not going to speak, but I will just share one of the very important principles of Jewish life is something called Hakaras HaTov, which literally translates is to recognize the good, or more famously known in the United States as being thankful and expressing thanks. This university is very unique. We have been spared a lot of the experiences that we've only seen, whether on social media or on regular media in the news. Maybe we have some friends that have experienced the anti-Semitism and the challenging times that are around. But that's not by accident. That was because of very strong leadership. And so at this point, I would like to mention first our previous president, Dr. Frank, who immediately took the reins and responded in a way that laid the groundwork for everything we're seeing, including here, as well as the current president, Echeverria, who has continued in that vein. But presidents, they're on top, but there's many people that are underneath that actually implement the policies. So tonight here we have with us Dr. Whiteley, who's been a tremendous friend of a tremendous friend of the Jewish community for many, many, many years. I've been here 24-ish years, and we've been friends since then, and it only keeps getting stronger, as well as an entire team. Nothing happens on its own. There are dozens and dozens of people that work tirelessly, people that you don't see, people that you may not even know exist, but that are here to make sure that our experience is the one that we're having. I'd also like to thank and to point out Dr. Ryan Holmes, who is the Dean of Students, who as well with his team of amazing associate deans and the fellow chaplains who have really come together to make sure that we don't just talk about having a safe environment. We don't just talk about being inclusive and being a place where we can proudly present our Jewish faith, but that's actually how it is. And what bigger testament than what we have here today, sitting in this auditorium. So I'd like to just give one big thank you. We all give a big round of applause for the university and for all of the people that are not here. At least somebody might tell them that they were recognized and they're appreciated. So if we can give a nice big round of applause. We also have with us two very special people, the Honorable Mayor Vince Lago and the Vice Mayor Rhonda Anderson, who have taken time out of their own schedules to be with us here tonight. They're the Mayor and Vice Mayor of Coral Gables, so we thank them very much for being here and for participating. And I'm going to ask the Honorable Mayor Vince Lago to please come up and just share with us a few words.
Good evening. Can everybody hear me? Let me tell you, I am so impressed, and I speak a lot in front of big groups, but to see so many young people in a room together, especially when you're talking about religion, faith, it's tough to get everybody in a room. As a Catholic who attends St. Augustine Church and the father of two young girls who attend Catholic school here in South Florida, they go to Carrollton. I've had the privilege of becoming close with Rabbi Mendel and other rabbis in this community as a result of being mayor. Half my family is Jewish, and they live in Atlanta. I must tell you, over the last year, what I've been able to witness and exchange, and the people that I've met, and I think we have some IDF soldiers here today with us. More importantly, I'd like for them to please stand and be recognized. Please stand. These are real heroes. These are individuals that put their lives in the line for their beliefs, for their families, for country. These are the people that we have to admire. These are the people that we have to respect. These are true heroes, not politicians, not people with a lot of money, not sports athletes, not captains of industry, people who give their own lives and sacrifice themselves for what they believe in. I'm going to be very brief. You didn't come to hear from me. I want to make sure that you're aware, and this is not political speech. The Vice Mayor and myself believe that this city is the most exceptional city in the country. There is nothing like Coral Gables. If it's because we have University of Miami, it's because we have incredible students, it's because we have incredible families, is it because we're diverse, is it because we have many different types of religious backgrounds? It could be a whole host of reasons. George Merrick was a visionary when he started this city 99 years ago. But I believe this city is special because of people like you. Truly people like you, who on a Monday night, when it's raining, say, I'm going to fill up a room and it's going to spill out into the hallway to talk about faith, to talk about what you believe in, to talk about what you think is important. So I want you to do me a favor, if you can. I thought what the young lady said, by the way, I was very impressed by your words, both of you, incredibly impressed. And as a father of two young girls, to me, that's what I aspire, hopefully, one day to deliver on this planet. We need more people like you. When she talked a little bit about giving back, my wife and I, before the horror story that is October 7th, we worked with the rabbis, all the rabbis in Coral Gables. We wanted to give a gift to the Jewish community. And I hope that this year, all of you can come and attend with us. We usually have a menorah lighting ceremony, which happens in Pond Circle Park. But I decided with my wife to buy a beautiful menorah, an LED menorah that you maybe saw last year. And that was placed last year, and we celebrated faith. We celebrated community. We celebrated being Christians and coming together. And there was a few hundred people there, but I love to see all these young people out there, because you're the future of our community. We're the past. We're way in the past. I have hope, because every time that I look at my two kids when I put them to bed at night, sometimes I get home late at night and I peek into the room and I just want to see them as they're getting older every day. You know, I was telling the rabbi and some friends of mine that this is the picture I have in front of my phone. They're 13 and 10 years old. They don't look anything like this. But I still pick them up. My daughter's in 8th grade. She says, Dad, you're embarrassing me. And I tell you this story because to me, the most important thing is what's in this room. To see young people proud of their faith, proud of who they are, and not shying away under some of the most difficult times in this country. And I want you to know, as Catholics, as Christians, as Protestants, in this community, you're not only welcome, you're loved. You're loved. So, in closing, when we do the menorah lighting this year, and you're going to see it when you drive down Lejeune, that was personally donated by my family, my wife and I. I want you to come and celebrate with us that day. Come and be with the rabbis. Show people that this community is a community based on goodness, based on faith. Don't be afraid to say God bless you. Don't be afraid to say I love you. Don't be afraid to show people who you are, because that's what makes us stronger as a community. So I want to thank you for allowing me the honor to be here. And the rabbi, who's a good friend of mine, said, you know, we gave up all our time. I didn't give up on my time. I didn't. I was looking forward to being here today. I wanted to share in this moment, because today, while we're remembering the fallen heroes, you know, we're also going to celebrate. You got to celebrate those lives, those individuals that gave the ultimate and paid the ultimate price to allow us the freedoms to be here today. We have to give thanks to God for that. So God bless all of you. Thank you for giving me the honor to be here. God bless you.
Thank you, Mayor, for being here. I'm Rabbi Jason Cook, the rabbi at Hillel, and before I get to my remarks, I want to triply thank the mayor and the vice mayor for being here, and the rest of Coral Gables City Council. What many of you may not know is about a week, maybe a week and a half after the events of October 7th, the mayor and the rest of City Council invited the Jewish community to testify in front of the council, and in no uncertain terms, they condemned unanimously the actions of Hamas, stood in solidarity with the Jewish community and with the people of Israel. We have all at this university felt what it means to be in a community supported and safe because of the university administration, the leadership here, but know that you also live in a community with incredible leadership looking out for you even off campus. So I want to say thank you again to the City of Coral Gables. Today, though, we think on some level of sadness. Sadness, the guest that comes unbidden and leaves in its own time. Its guises take many shapes and colors, grief's midnight indigo, sorrow's pre-dawn gray, the searing red of sudden separation. And sometimes it is a colorless thing that visits for no apparent reason, quietly inhabiting one's cells, unremarkable as breathing. This is the description of sadness that Marcia Falk, the Jewish liturgist and poet, uses in her poem commemorating the 5th day of the Aseret Yamei Tshuva, the 10 days of awe between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. In other words, today. How heavy do we feel today? How mournful? How emotionally drained? How have the colors of our sadness become unbidden guests, unremarkable as breathing? How heavy does the universe lie upon our shoulders today? When Israel suffers, Judaism suffers. When Jewish people suffer, Judaism suffers. The state of Israel was founded to reflect the ideals and passions of the Jewish community. As early as 1897, Ahad Ha'am, one of our early Zionist forebears, envisioned that from Israel, the spirit of Judaism will go forth to the great circumference to all the communities of the diaspora, that it will breathe new life into them and preserve their unity. And here we are. We know that the Jewish people are in pain. We are in pain. While we hope for the breath of new life that Ahad Ha'am envisioned, it is so difficult to see and feel right now. On Rosh Hashanah, we are told that the book of life lies open before God and our stories are written down. This year, the stories written contain too much sadness, too much pain, too much heartbreak. And in a few days, on Yom Kippur, the book will be sealed. Here we are, caught in the middle. How heavy does the universe weigh upon our shoulders today? But look around you. Look how many shoulders are in this room. And know that across this community, this city, this country, and indeed the world, there are shoulders everywhere, poised and ready to help each of us carry the weight of the world. It does hang heavy upon us, but look how we can share that load. We are Klal Yisrael, the community of Israel, and we are the keepers of Judaism. Judaism is our source of resilience and hope. In Judaism, we find stories about how our ancestors worked to repair the world. In Judaism, we find the reasons and ways we can and should connect with one another. In Judaism, we center ideas that there is hope for the future, even if we cannot see the ends. After all, the rabbis of old teach us that it is not incumbent upon us to complete the work, but neither are we free to desist from it. The book of life is open. We have to record the stories of sadness, grief, and pain. But we also have to record the stories of courage, of the triumph that comes from putting one foot in front of the other, even in the face of great tragedy and difficulty. When I teach about Jewish resilience, I teach about how resilience is like a tree. When we have deep roots, we can stand strong even in the face of the worst storm. The book of Leviticus teaches us that God's commandments are not something to die by, but rather that we should b'chai v'chem, that we should live by them. Though Judaism suffers when we suffer, Judaism also thrives when we thrive. We are the Jewish people. Our roots are our resilience. We are the Jewish people. We are Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai, the people, the Jewish people live. Thank you.
We now have a very incredible opportunity to hear from two soldiers, actual IDF soldiers. Their names are Shiloh and Ori, and they come from the organization Belev Echad. Please give your warm welcome.
everyone. Your attention spans are incredible. In Israel, if you don't have like a punchline every 5 seconds, they're gonna start throwing sandals. So this is very special. They're fixing some technical issues, but I'll start anyways. Thank you all for coming tonight. It is a very, very special day, of course, for all of us. And it's been a difficult decision to make and come here and not stay in Israel and quote unquote celebrate this day with my family and my friends and maybe my unit all of my friends and my unit are actually now fighting inside Lebanon. I wanted to open up. Let me just start without the invitation. Sure. So before we dive into my story and who the hell I am and why am I standing here, I want you all to think of one word that kind of changed my life. It's a word that we all know. It's a word that we've all heard in the past year a bunch of times. And this word is heroism. Ask yourselves, what are the first associations you get with the word heroism? Is it courage? Is it strength? It can be many, many things. And to me, it meant a lot of things a year ago, and now it means something completely different. I want to take you back to October the 6th, a day before the war broke out. Who was I? So my name is Oli Asher. I'm 27 years old. On October 6th, I was 26 years old. And I'm the youngest of 9 children. And I live in Klumim, in Samaria, next to Ariel, if you've ever heard of it. And I've had, in the past, I've managed 2 businesses, one website design business, and the other is a business I have going until today, which is an AI agency for small and medium businesses. I actually wrote 2 books in English on the topic of mentalism, if you heard of Leo Suchard and stuff, so he performs, I kind of create these things in the backstage. And I've had a really full life. And in 2 weeks, I have lost everything. And I know it sounds kind of dramatic, but that's actually what it felt like. 1 week before the war, I was just on the brink of a breakthrough, a major breakthrough in my business that I've prepared for months. I was actually in a relationship with this girl I thought I'm gonna marry. Didn't happen. And I was in a good relationship with myself, with God, with my friends, and to be frank, it was the best period of my life. And I remember sitting on my bed alone in my room and thinking, is that too good to be true? Is everything gonna go to hell? And 2 weeks later, I've lost my business, my girlfriend, my mental and physical health, and everything. It was like hitting the restart button. On October 7th, I stayed at a friend's house next to Jerusalem, and his father wakes us up around 8:30 in the morning, and he leaves the door open, and we hear, he says, "Can you hear it?" And there was like an utter silence, and then we heard an explosion, and another one, and a couple more, and a dozen more, and we realized something special out of the ordinary is happening. And he said 3 words, well, in Hebrew it's 2 words, but in English it's 3. He said, "There's a war." And we immediately, being IDF soldiers in reserves, but still IDF soldiers, we stood up on both of our legs because we had them. And we opened our phones to try and see what's going on, if we're getting called. And nobody knew anything. If I knew what's currently happening in the south, I would just grab my car, even though I'm Shomer Shabbat and everything, I would drive all the way to the south and try and do whatever I can, but you're just waiting for orders. You have no idea what's happening. My commanders didn't know what's happening, so they told me to wait for further orders. So we went to Shul, to Daven, Shacharit, and we danced because it was Simchat Torah. And then people started getting phone calls, and people started to disappear from the shul. And around 7 p.m., I get a phone call from my commander as well. Let's get to, oh. Okay. No go. Okay, this is 6. That's me. Okay, so on October 7th, one thing from the list mattered, and it's the fact that I'm a tank fighter. So my business, my books, my relationship with my family, nothing mattered anymore. And it was only the fact that I'm a soldier. So I get a phone call from my officer, and he tells me to go home, grab my stuff, and head north to prepare tanks and bring them down to the south to fight. So I go home. My parents prepared everything for me, so all there's left just to give them a hug. They gave me a hug, they blessed me, and I saw my mother tearing up. And I told her that she shouldn't really worry because I'm a tank fighter. Tanks in Gaza are actually pretty safe. And you don't break a promise to your mother. So I wasn't injured in Gaza, I was injured in Lebanon. And we went up to the northern border, and all we did for 8 days was practice. Things escalated in Lebanon as well, so the order changed, and they told us to stay. To stay in Lebanon and keep the border safe. All the civilians were evacuated already. And we went up to a kibbutz. No, that's spoilers. One more? Yes. We went up to a kibbutz named Hanita. Hanita is right on the border on the western side. And my team and I, on the 15th, October 15th, we got called. I'm the gunner in the tank. We got called, and we arrived. So that's the Motzei Shabbat, the second Shabbat between Saturday and Sunday. And we get there around 3 in the morning. We prepare everything around 4:30. We're switching with an existing team. We take over their tank, and we stay in that position. And when we wake up, we notice something very, very unusual. It was great timing, my friend. We noticed something very unusual. Hanita, as you can see the border, right? The black line. Hanita is almost 180 degrees exposed. It's half of it is almost inside enemy territory. So where we stayed, we weren't only exposed from the northern side, we were also exposed from the west and the east. And when we wake up in the morning, we get out of the tank and we look around, and we look to our left, we see that we're downhill, so we're safe. We look to the north, to our front, we see that we're downhill and that we're safe. We look to our right, to the eastern side, and we see a bush. And it's not that tall at all. And when we stand up on the tank, we can literally see Lebanon. If we can see, right? Just Battlefield 101. If you can see your enemy can see you. And tanks, the number one fear of a tanker are anti-tank missiles, which they have to see you in order to hit you. So we decided that we'll wait for the chief officer of that position. They told us that he should arrive around 3 p.m. So we were three tanks. We were three tanks, and my tank was the eastern one. And around 3 p.m., the chief officer arrives. But together with him also arrives a Cornet missile, an anti-tank missile, one of the most vicious ones that Hezbollah has. And it hits not my tank, it hits the middle tank. We're sitting down inside the tank, and our officer, not the chief officer, our commander, goes out and he talks to the chief officer, and we're laying down to have some rest, because that's what you do in war. If you can rest, you rest. And then I hear the loudest explosion I've ever heard in my life, and the entire tank fills with, that's spoilers again, my friend? The entire tank is filled with dust. So we again stand up on both of our feet because we have them. And we go to our cells. I sit down in the gunner cell, we check ourselves that everything is fine, and it is. And my commander comes rushing in, and it decides that we need to go up and expose ourselves to look for the shooters and take them down, or at least shoot towards them so we can evacuate the wounded. But they anticipated it. They ambushed us, and 5 seconds after we exposed ourselves, that's when I hear the actual loudest explosion I've ever heard in my life, because this time it's 40 centimeters away from me. I'm sitting down in the tank in my chair, and the missile comes in around this area, right next to my right leg. It's in the shape of a cone, so it completely skips the right leg, but it directly hits my left knee, and it's pretty much gone there and then. And everything fills with smoke, very, very thick smoke, and you can't breathe. So what you're trying to do when you can't breathe, the first thing you're trying to look for is oxygen. So I try to get up, but this time I don't have both of my legs, because our brain works in a funny way. You know, it works in associations. If you touch a hot pot or something, your brain remembers the last time you did it and you got a burn, so it tells you don't do it again. But my brain can't go, remember that time you've lost your leg. Well, that feels the same. It can't do it. Plus, you have the adrenaline. It's the best drug there is, and try them all. It's incredible. You don't feel anything, and I didn't know I'd lost my leg. So I tried to get up, but something felt stuck, so I looked down to see what's not working. And I saw I'm missing my leg. And I have two thoughts in my mind. The first one is, well, I tried to live my life in a way that all the tests that were given were not only able to go through them, we're supposed to. So I have a little chat with God, and I tell him that's my test. Okay, we'll have to see about that. And the second thing is, I do AI, I'll manage with a prosthetic, it's gonna be fine. And that's where your entire training kicks in. You don't think, you don't deal with the pain, you push it aside and you tell yourself, I'm in battle, I have to deal with it later, with all the pain. I will deal with it, but now it's not the time, what can I do right now? And my commander pulls me out, he puts me on the floor of the tank, he puts a tourniquet on me. I asked him, so stupid, I asked him if the disability benefits are worth it. But he was busy trying to get an evacuation, so we didn't listen. It was like, you get this moment once in your life, It's like you didn't hear my joke. It was very hurtful. So we waited for the evacuation, and we wait for the evacuation, and that's where the adrenaline settles down, and the unknown kicks in, and also the pain kicks in. And I can't, my scale of 1 to 10 of painful stuff has become real. I know what 10 feels like. And what 10 feels like is you don't want to exist anymore. All you want to do is to disintegrate, pretty much. And you're willing to exchange everything for this sensation to go away. And 15 minutes go by and we're getting our evacuation. They pulled me out of the tank and they evacuated me to Nali hospital. And there I spent 6 days in intensive care. I still have my left leg attached, but it's missing the knee. They were able to connect the lower part to the upper part, but the knee is completely gone. So I have a straight, shorter leg. They tried to save it. It was completely crushed. Sorry for being so graphic, but it was completely crushed. And the most horrible 6 days of my life were these days, because from a young, incredibly active person, I became this half corpse. I don't know how to put it. You're connected to 7 different tubes, and your heart rate doesn't drop below 135 for 6 days, 135 per minute. Just for reference, the normal heartbeat is between 60 and 80, and so that's almost twice. And I've tried to hold on using 3 different ideas. The first one, as you saw me eating the popsicle, savoring the very little moments of joy that I've had. You saw me in the previous picture actually enjoying that popsicle, well, that was true. And it was one of the very few moments I've had joy in those 6 days. The other thing is, I've read some articles back in the day that are more ancient part of the brain works in a funny way. If you're happy, you're smiling, but if you're smiling, you can trick your brain into thinking you're happy. It actually works. So I forced myself, even though all I wanted to do was cry and be sad, I forced myself to physically smile. And the third thing is, I had conversations with a very interesting person, which is myself, in 5 years. I've had a family, I've had a prosthetic, and we've had some very interesting conversations, and he gave me hope from the future that I don't know if I made it up, but it's probably gonna happen anyways, but I actually believed in it, so it put everything into perspective. And then I was transferred. When I got stable, I was transferred to Tel Shomel Hospital, and in Tel Shomel, I learned they amputated my leg completely. It was my choice, which made things easier, because that was the right thing to do. 11 out of 11 doctors suggested that we should cut it off, and I agreed. Imagine being hit, and then they put you into coma, and the first thing you see when you wake up is that you're missing a leg without having that decision made by yourself. Well, that's very difficult. I've had the privilege, considering the situation, to make that decision myself. And in rehab, you're learning how to live with brilliance. Before you get your prosthetic, before you get this Ironman upgrade, all you need to do is to learn how to live without it. Because if you're dependent on it, then you shouldn't have it. And then this is where I started to hear a very interesting word. I had no idea, and no idea why it was connected to me. People call me a hero of Israel, Gibor Israel, over and over again. I was one of the first amputees in Tel Shomel. The entire Am Yisrael went through my room pretty much. I've been visited by at least 5,000 different people from all around the globe, and they kept calling me hero, and I had no idea what they meant. I've never shot any rounds towards any terrorists. I didn't have the privilege to do so, and all we did was pretty much we got hit by an attack missile. What does heroism mean? And I wanted to understand what it means to me. And I went and looked for explanations in Judaism. And in Judaism, you have a very interesting concept. Heroism means reduction. It's very hard to, I sat down and thought how to translate that word. It means tzimtzum, to be specific, but it's very hard to put it in an exact translation. But heroism means to reduce, to take something that could mean your entire personality and put it in its right place. I want you all to imagine now the one thing that happened to you, a tragedy that happened to you, and something horrible in your life, maybe a test that's coming up, I don't know, and it's taken over. It's taken over. It's almost like your entire personality. And what would happen, think about it, what would happen, how would your life look like if you could put it in its right place? It's not gonna take over. You're not going to ignore it. It's gonna be just in the right spot. And for me, from being injured in Iron Swords War, instead of making it my entire personality or ignoring it completely, which are pretty common choices, I decided to put it in its right place. So today, I'm 27 years old. I'm still the founder of 2 businesses. I still wrote 2 books. I'm still optimizing businesses with AI. I'm still a tech fighter, not really, but in my heart. And I'm also, in addition, an amputee. And think about it. I bet that the first thing you noticed once I walked on stage was my prosthetic. But as I talked to you, your gaze slowly went up. Slowly but surely. It happens every time. People get to know me. On the first time, the first few minutes, hours, days, changes the situation. People, all they see is an amputee. But as they get to know me, they see it's just one of my traits. And that's heroism for me, putting this thing in its right place. And then, hold on, we'll get there. Too many animations. And then I joined Belal, and they helped me a bunch. There's a very nice house next to the hospital, the Riyadh Hospital. And what you see here are all photos taken by this guy that's filming right now. And they took us to New York, to Connecticut, here, and they helped us. They got us prosthetics, not this one, but in Thursday I'm going to get a new one. And it's in addition to what the Minister of Defense gives us. And it really helps because we have a lot of things to deal with, our mental health and our physical health. And on top of it, just, I've had the flu 2 days ago, and I was thinking, I can still have the flu. I'm an amputee, but I can still have the flu. It's unfair. It's like, everybody can have the flu, but I'm also missing a leg, And really helps. It really helps. It helps us focus on the right things. And really, we owe them a lot. And you know, this is, again, a very special day. And this is October 7th. And I want you to think about the entire Jewish nation, about being heroes. We're all heroes in our way. And think about it in the context I just told you. October the 7th is a tragedy. Sorry, no, I have this word. It's an actual horrific thing that happened to us. And as a people, as a nation, we need to put it in its right place. We are Amanetzach, the people of eternity. We are dealing with the pain, we are mourning, but we are also singing. Because Amanetzach lo mefached midרך aruka, it is a part of the entire thing. It's a part of who we are. It's horrible, it's difficult. And if we want to cry, we should. We should cry. But the day after, we pick ourselves up and we continue doing what we do best. That's taking the world towards Geulah, making the world a better place to live for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Today, I want to share the harrowing story of my cousin, Ilana Gritsevsky Kami. Born and raised in Mexico, she made the brave decision to make Aliyah on her own at just 16 years old. Never in her wildest dreams could she have imagined on the fateful morning of October 7th, her life and the life of so many others would be changed forever. As she sat peacefully, sipping her morning coffee, she suddenly heard sirens. They were a familiar sound, part of her new life, but this time they blared relentlessly. Back to back, she knew something was terribly wrong. In a moment of instinct, she went and locked herself in the shelter with her boyfriend, their hearts racing with fear and uncertainty. After what felt like an eternity, 3 agonizing hours, they began to hear the unmistakable sounds of explosions and voices speaking in Arabic. At that moment, the reality struck them like a thunderbolt. Their lives were in grave danger. Ilana described those moments as a horrific game of Russian roulette, each second feeling like a countdown to their death. When the terrorists opened their door, fear turned into desperation. With adrenaline surging through her veins, she and her boyfriend made a split-second decision to escape through a window, their only chance to survival. But freedom was a fleeting illusion. Ilana found herself surrounded by armed terrorists all around the kibbutz. She spotted a blanket on the ground and took cover beneath it. Praying to remain unseen, her heart pounded in her chest, and she waited in dread, hoping she would not be discovered. Suddenly, footsteps echoed closer, and then without warning, she felt a brutal tug at her hair. Dragged and thrown against the wall, she faced the terrifying reality of guns and grenades pointing at her, threatening her. She begged for mercy, which fell on deaf ears. They had no compassion. She was thrown into the back of a motorcycle, watching in horror as her kibbutz burned down behind her. A symbol of her new life, her home, reduced to ashes. In the darkness that followed, Ilana was taken to Gaza, where her personal hell began. For 55 excruciating days, she was treated as a trophy, paraded around as if her sufferment was entertainment, tortured physically, emotionally, and mentally. She was imprisoned with a math teacher and a lawyer who taunted her, insisting that Gaza was now her new home, that she would marry them and bear their children, never see her family again. Each misstep came with punishments so cruel that they would haunt her forever. The denial of food, water, sleep, even the basic dignity of using the bathroom. After what felt like an eternity, hope flickered back into her life when she was one of the last people released during an extended ceasefire. Yet the nightmare did not end there for her. Her boyfriend remains a hostage to this day, a part of her heart forever, in captivity. It has now been 365 days since October 7th, a year filled with unimaginable pain and suffering. Yet, there are still 101 hostages left living in this nightmare, many of them young adults just like us. I stand before you today, not just to share my cousin's story, but to remind you all that even in the darkest times, there's hope. The outpouring support for Israel, the unity amongst communities despite their diverse beliefs, has been a testament to the strength of the Jewish community. Together, we are stronger. I encourage you all to stay informed, connected, and to keep fighting for what's right. Our people live on, our spirits remain unbroken, and together we will continue to fight for a brighter tomorrow. Am Yisrael Hai.
On October 11th, 2023, I stood at the top of the rock with a microphone in my hand and led hundreds of students, many of you in this room, in a prayer named Oseh Shalom, which reads, "May the one who creates peace in the heavens bring peace to us and to all of Israel." 361 days later, 361 really long days, we stand in the same place, fighting for the same things, mourning the same tragedies, and praying for the same hostages. Back then, it seemed like 1 week in Hamas captivity would be barbaric enough to permanently change a life. Yet 361 days later, 361 really long days, we stand here on October 7th, 2024, praying for the release of those same hostages who have had an entire year of their lives ripped away by these sadistic terrorists. In my speech on October 11th, 2023, I asked how it could possibly be the case that people all over the world celebrated Hamas's terrorism. I asked how, after the most Jews were killed in a single day since the Holocaust, swastikas were waved in New York City, and on the opposite side of the world, masses in Sydney, Australia chanted, "Gas the Jews." 361 days later, 361 really long days. 361 days later, 361 really long days, we look back on the most anti-Semitic year since the Holocaust, a year where Jewish college students at UCLA and Columbia were prohibited from attending their classes and walking on campus, where Cornell Jews were told they were lesser than animals and threatened to be killed like pigs, a year where kosher restaurants, Jewish community centers, synagogues, Chabad houses, and daycares were vandalized, threatened, attacked, and burned to the ground. All of this happened in the last 361 days. But what I've also seen in these past 361 days is the most unity the Jewish people have ever shown. Whether in Israel or America, conservative, Orthodox, Sephardi, Ashkenazi, Mizrahi, Jewish, or even a friend of the Jews, the pro-Israel community has come together like never before. If there is only one thing that I am certain of, it's that no matter how the world treats us, we will not be drawn away from our morals. We will not be taken away from our homeland, and we will never suppress our Judaism for anyone. While today marks 1 year of immense sadness, loss, mourning, worry, and war, it marks one more thing for me. 1 year of my strongest relationship with God that I've ever had. After October 7th, I made the decision, like many other men across the country, to wrap tefillin every day. My tefillin was donated to me in honor of a fallen IDF soldier. Although I never knew Yair, he was my age, and I thought that in a way, he could live through me and my connection with God. Over the year, I have had the opportunity to connect with Yair's family in Israel, and our story has been published on news channels worldwide. As I said, we will never suppress our Judaism for anyone. May Hashem bless the United States of America, the Holy Land of Israel, and may he bring the hostages home now.
Thank you, Corey. I want to thank all of you for being here tonight with the rain and hearing all the speakers. And I want to thank the police very much, the university, and very importantly, I want to thank all the non-Jews who have came out to support. And if you have a non-Jewish friend, be sure to let them know that it does not go unnoticed. It was hard, honestly, to come up with the words. How do you sum up a year like the last year that just occurred? And just last night, I met the father of someone named Lavi Lipschitz. And Lavi was the same age as me, 20, same age as a lot of you. And he was in the Sayeret Givati. Now, he fell in battle. And when you're speaking to the parents, it's different when you hear it, but when you're really speaking and engaging with the father of someone who lost their child in such a terrible way, the pain is both palpable and immeasurable. You really feel it when you're talking to them. So he told me a little bit about Lavi, and after I heard his story, I told him that he was for sure who I was going to talk about today. And he said how he was originally drafted to Sayeret Givati, which is the same unit that my cousin is in. And originally, he didn't want to be in Sayeret Givati. Sayeret is a very elite special forces unit, and they train you to be a real killer. And he would often say to his father, "Dad, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be a killer." He was a photographer. He liked taking pictures of nature, taking pictures of dogs. He said, "I want to focus on my photography. I don't want to be here." As he wrote, this is his photography book, which his father gave me. I'll read a little bit from it. He said, "In my first days of basic training, I felt like an outsider, not belonging, rejected, a starling in a flock of crows." And then later on, he says, "After some time in dialogues with members of the platoon, it became clear that I am not the only one who does not belong to the group. Rather, there are 35 individuals who do not belong to the group and yet are the group at the same time." So, Lavi was a very unique individual, and at some point during training, he dislocated his shoulder, and he was waiting in the hospital or in the clinic to get a scan. And waiting alongside of him was a girl. And to pass the time, he was talking to this girl, and they both shared a love of photography and filmmaking. So he decided that he was going to make a video asking her out. And so he made a 30-second short video for her, and at the end it says, "Will you go out with me Thursday night?" But that date never came, because shortly thereafter, Lavi fell in battle. But watching Lavi's father watch this video, which was up on the screen, he was smiling. Like for a few short moments, he had his son back. And he said that even though he fell in battle, he left a letter behind that he thinks it's important that everyone hears. It was like the soldiers mentioned, in case something happens, letter. So I'm going to share the letter that he left for his family and friends with you today. Lavi Lipschitz wrote, "In case I die, it is better to leave operating instructions or some sort of eulogy for myself. After all, what is the point of living if I don't get to eulogize anyone at all? I do not regret enlisting in the Givati Brigade Special Forces Unit, or Squad 3, my squad. In fact, I am grateful for that. The opportunity to make friends like the people I encountered in the military is remarkable. Thank you to the country that gave me this opportunity, and thank you to my friends who made such an extraordinary connection possible. In conclusion, I ask that you do not drown in grief. Grief may be daily, and grief may be exhausting, but the activity that may grow out of grief is not exhausting, but only constructive. Nothing has been more difficult for me in life than doing nothing, so I say to those around me, always do." So the last line of the letter that he wrote to his family and his friends, it reminded me of a Mark Twain quote. Now, everyone knows the famous author Mark Twain, and he wrote a quote about the Jews. He said, The Jew has made a marvelous fight in this world and has done it all with hands tied behind his back. The Egyptians, the Babylonians, the Persians, they rose, they filled the planet with great sound and great splendor, and then they quickly faded to the stuff of dreams, passing away. The Greeks followed, the Romans followed. They made such vast noise, and where are they now? They're all gone. The Jew, on the other hand, saw them all, beat them all. All things seem to be mortal but the Jew. All these other forces come and they pass, but he remains. What is the secret to the Jew's immortality? And I think that the last line of Lavi's letter perfectly illustrates this. In what would come to be his final words to his friends and family, he was encouraging them not to mourn, not to be mired in grief, but to take action. This is the Jewish secret. So yes, we will never forget October 7th. As you always hear everyone say, never forget. We'll never forget the thousands brutally burned, killed, maimed, raped, tied up, burnt alive in their own homes, parents beheaded in front of their children, children kidnapped and brought to Gaza, people dragged half alive and dead across fields and roads. It was without a doubt the foremost test of our generation. But with that, it is imperative that we as a Jewish people never, ever adopt a victim's mentality. Never forget that the Jewish people are a warrior nation. Never forget that the Jewish people are the sons of David and the daughters of Solomon. Never forget that you are of the Maccabees, who defeated one of the strongest armies in the world at the time. That the Jews of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising outlasted the Nazis longer than the entire country of Poland. Never forget that Israel, despite having been attacked on 7 different fronts, 4 different times in its 80 years of existence, has won decisively 3 of those times and is going to win decisively the 4th time. Never forget that despite being 0.02% of the population of a world that has done pretty much nothing but persecute us, we have given gifts in theology, literature, science, art, music, finance, medicine, technology, in any realm of human endeavor that vastly outweighs our numbers in any statistical probability. Never forget that we, as a people, are here to fulfill a divine mission. And so long as every Jewish man wraps tefillin, every Jewish woman lights Shabbat candles, and every Jew walks with their chin up, their chest out, and an unshakable trust in God, no regime, nor ideology, nor demagogue will ever preach to the Jewish people the clock of the earth. Never forget that so long as the Jewish people live every day like it is October 8th, October 7th will never happen again. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Connie Herman. I don't know if it works. I'd like to begin by thanking everyone who made this event possible tonight. October 7th was a monumental day that changed the course of history for Israel forever. I am speaking tonight, recounting my morning in Israel on October 7th and sharing what actions are necessary to take as Jews. Last year, I took a gap year studying in a seminary in Jerusalem. My first month of seminary was spent hanging out with friends on Ben Yehuda and studying at the Beit Midrash with my new rebbeim. After Chol HaMoed of Sukkot, I decided to stay in my seminary for Simchat Torah. It was 8 a.m. on Simchat Torah on October 7th, and my madricha was going room to room, waking up the girls for shacharit. I insisted on sleeping for an extra 10 minutes before having to get ready to pray. Instead of a second peaceful good morning, I received a frantic awakening, and my madricha was now screaming at me to get up and run to the bomb shelter. As the sirens were blaring, I made my way to the nearest bomb shelter in the building and waited with the girls in my dorm for the noise outside to commence. After 10 minutes, I returned to my bed, ignorantly thinking what just happened was a normal occurrence in Israel. Once the second alarm went off, then the third, then the fourth, and then the fifth, I, along with everyone, were aware of the severity of the situation. Not having my phone or access to social media at the time was extremely nerve-wracking because at that point, everyone knew a war had broken out. The rest of the day was spent praying for the soldiers and for the lives of those who perished. That night, after Chag, I was finally able to check WhatsApp and Instagram. I couldn't believe such atrocities and tragedies took place only a 2-hour drive from where I was living at the time. Instead of sitting back and wondering how this could have all happened, my seminary and myself took the initiative to lift the spirits of the community. We organized and ran multiple fairs and carnivals for the children living around my seminary, for children in the north, and for children in the south near State Road. We received endless positive feedback from parents and relatives that there was finally some light for their kids in the midst of the war. My seminary also made multiple trips helping the communities near Gaza, picking oranges and onions in the fields that lacked the necessary farmers to maintain the crops. I tried to involve myself with as much chesed and kindness as I could, even helping in something as small as walking my Israeli neighbors' dogs or babysitting their children were activities I made sure to prioritize. As a Jewish individual, helping other students in the people of Israel is always a priority. The chesed I was involved with formed a stronger Jewish identity in myself that I wasn't aware was possible. The unity we hold as a nation is one to never take for granted, especially during times of war. We are a nation here to uplift one another, care for one another, and protect one another. Am Yisrael Chai.
Hi, I'm Eital Baruch. Last year, I went on the Israel XB Bar Ilan Gap Year program. The program doesn't usually start until after the holidays, but I decided to go early so I could be there for Simchat Torah with my friends and family. So I arrived in Israel on October 3rd, filled with anticipation for the upcoming holiday and the exciting year ahead. I was spending the holiday at my family friend's apartment in Ra'anana with 2 of my other friends who were in seminary at the time. On October 6th, which was a Friday night, we went to shul for Kabbalat Shabbat, which are the pre-Shabbat services, and everyone was singing and dancing, kids were playing in the streets. It was a normal Shabbat night. The next morning, which was Saturday, October 7th, I was woken up by the sound of sirens at 6 in the morning. Now, I'm gonna be honest, it was pretty early, I was a little groggy, and I just assumed it was a really loud ambulance, so I went back to sleep. My friends and I all woke back up again much later, around 1 or 2 in the afternoon, confused as to why no one woke us up to go to shul in the morning for Shabbat services. We went downstairs to see what was going on, and our host came up to us and said, "Something terrible has happened. We're at war." At first, I honestly didn't believe her. I thought she was just trying to make a joke because we slept in so late, but then I could tell by the sad, defeated look in her eyes that this was no joke. While most of my friends who were in seminary and yeshiva, and even much of my family living in Israel, decided to escape back to the States or Europe once the war broke out, I, along with my parents, made a mutual decision to stay. Not only am I lucky enough to have a grandma who lives in Israel and numerous friends who all opened their doors to me, knowing that I was there alone, but I also thought about all the Israelis who can't just up and leave, who are forced to hide in bomb shelters daily, who are going into Gaza to fight, who call Israel their home. And I stayed because Israel is my home too, and I wanted to contribute in any way possible. The following week was probably one of the most difficult yet valuable times in my life. I was still stuck in my friend's apartment in Ra'anana as we were essentially in lockdown, having to be in the bomb shelter multiple times a day and unsure as to whether or not it was safe yet to be traveling around Israel. But we kept busy. We cooked huge batches of schnitzel almost every night for the soldiers down south, which the father hosting us drove down to the Gazan border himself. He would send us pictures of the soldiers eating our food with a smile on their face, many of whom were my age or only a few years older. And I was encouraged, knowing that we were making a difference, helping our Chayalim stay strong. We also worked with other people in the community to organize as much clothing as possible for the displaced families who had to abandon all their belongings. Not to mention, the family we were staying with had children who were only 6 and 8 years old. So my friends and I spent any free time we had playing with them, helping them with their homework, or even bathing them and putting them to sleep at night so their mom could have a break. The funny thing is that most of the time, these kids were the biggest comfort to us, as somehow, even when we were sitting in the bomb shelter, they managed to keep a smile on their face, and they would say to us, "Don't worry, it will all be over soon." That week, I witnessed a true essence of the Jewish nation. We are a community, a family. We are constantly giving and helping one another and standing united and strong even in our darkest moments. It was during this week that I also found out that Omer Nutra, a close friend of my family and a student at my old school, was taken hostage by Hamas. He's a lone soldier and a tank commander on the Gazan border. Hearing this news was absolutely devastating. He, along with all the other hostages still in Gaza a whole year later, continue to be in my thoughts and prayers as we must all pray for their safe return home.
Hi guys, I'm going to keep this short. For context, I'm Jamie. I'm currently a senior here. But before becoming a student here, I served as commander in combat infantry unit on the border of Egypt, in a unit called Karakal. And during my service, my regular service, I had this absolute surreal experience, as many soldiers do, to stand in uniform, my gun by my side, beret on my shoulder, at the foot of Har Herzl. Har Herzl, for those of you who don't know, is Israel's national and military cemetery. And while we were there, we were given this little card with a little passage written by Eliraz Perez, who is the son of Miriam Perez, he had fallen in Gaza in a battle in 2010. And these few lines stuck with me from the time that I got that until now. But I don't think that the words really sunk in until last year on October 7th. I'm going to read it to you guys in both English and Hebrew. I'd like you guys as well to try to soak in the meaning as much as you can, because for me it's something I take with me. I carry the card with me wherever I go. So it goes like this. אם אתה אוהב, אז אתה אוהב עד הסוף. If you love, then you love all the way. אם אתה חבר, אז אתה חבר עד הסוף. If you're a friend, then be a friend all the way. אם אתה בצבא, בקרבי, אז אתה עד הסוף. שם ונותן את הכל. If you are in combat, then all of the way and give everything. וגם אם כל אלו באים על חשבונך האישי, and even if all of this comes at your own personal expense, זה מה שנקרא במילים גבוהות, מסירות נפש. And even if all of this comes at your own personal expense, this is what is called in a fancy term, fancy language, self-sacrifice. וזה בא לומר שאתה נותן מהגוף שלך, מהכוח שלך, מהכסף שלך, מהלב שלך. In other words, you give from your body, your strength, your money, and your heart. למען מישהו או משהו אחר שהוא לא אתה. For the sake of somebody or something that is not you. והמיוחד ביותר זה שאתה לא עושה את זה מדי פעם, אלא כל הזמן, מדי יום יומו, דקה ודקה. And the most extraordinary thing about this is that you aren't doing this from time to time or day to day, but rather minute by minute, every minute. And he ended it by saying, Ana Eli asa oti kle leshlichotecha. Please, my Lord, make me a vessel for your calling. I know that we all know the utter tragedies that were experienced on October 7th a year ago, but I think we also know the October 8th and 9th and 10th and afterwards of unity, the itachdut that we really saw of the Jewish people that followed soon after. I think that we have to take this unity that we saw after October 7th and give it our everything. Give it everything we have, because it can't just be right after October 7th of last year, and it can't just be today, October 7th of 2024, a year later. It needs to be October 8th and 9th and 10th and every day after. So I'm going to end by saying, may we all show our love and support and strength and resilience all of these days after, because we are one, as Ori said, Am hanetzach lo mefached miderech haruka. And may the memories of those lost never, ever, ever be forgotten. And may we see the remaining hostages come back very soon, hopefully right before Yom Kippur. Thank you.
Hi guys, I know it's been a long night, but I'm the last speaker, so you guys are almost out of here. My name's Betty and I'm the president of Hillel. A year ago today was the darkest day in our history since the Holocaust. I remember waking up to videos and images of our people being brutally murdered. Like many of you, I felt helpless, I felt guilty, and I couldn't understand why something like this could happen. The coming days were awful. It felt as though I was just going through the motions of being a human. And then the days turned into weeks, the weeks into months, and now the months into a year. And at some point during all of this, the days started to get just a little bit easier. And while it doesn't feel like I'm just going through the motions anymore, life will never be the same as October 6, 2023. Despite all the darkness, however, there has been so much light. A year ago, our community came together to mourn, to grieve, to cry, to lend a shoulder to lean on and an ear to listen to, and to dance together again. As we stand here today, it feels all too familiar. and it's easy to get caught up in the darkness. But I see light. I see our community united. I see our community as one. Because it doesn't matter where you come from or how you practice, we are one people. I've never felt so proud to be part of something so big, to be part of a community that shows up for one another and stands tall in the face of adversity. Because together, we are stronger. We are not Jews with trembling knees, and our light will always block out hate. Klal Yisrael, meaning the community of Israel, is at the core of who we are as Jewish people. As we reflect back on the past year, I see more Jewish pride than ever before. I see our community connecting to a purpose that is bigger than themselves. I see this when more people than ever go from first Shabbat dinner at Hillel to second Shabbat dinner at Chabad. I see it when more students than ever wear Magen David around campus. I see it when our Judaic studies classes and Hebrew classes are at capacity in ways they have never been. I see it tonight as we all show up together as one community in solidarity. As we leave this space, may we continue to stand tall without trembling knees. May we continue to stand loud and proud in our Jewish identities. May we continue to make our ancestors proud in our strength as Klal Yisrael. May we continue to wear our Jewish identities on our sleeves and in our hearts. May we go from strength to strength. Am Yisrael Chai. I just want to say thank you all for coming, and I want to encourage you all to take a yellow boat as you leave and practice acts of kindness. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Also, you have a leaflet on your chair to honor their souls, do a mitzvah, choose a mitzvah. Am Yisrael Chai. Have a great night.
Am Yisrael Chai. MoshiachNow. See you all in Jerusalem. Amen. United as one. Together forever. Peace, love, harmony, humanity. Freedom to serve God with joy. May we all come back home together with all our hostages in good health. May we experience the ultimate redemption celebrated in the third temple in Jerusalem. And may we all have a Gemar Chatima Tova, sealed and inscribed in the book of life, revealed good, and only revealed good news. Keep being positive, trust God, and we only share in celebrations of life together. Thank you so much. Am Yisrael Chai. L'chaim. Shana Tova u'Metzuka.